TKM Incorporated in Moss, Tennessee is a construction company that specializes in erosion control, seeding, and soil, hydroseeding, hydromulch, minor excavation, and silt fence. They also provide traffic control and construction signs. Their business is keeping people safe, but their passion, their mission, is they wish that all men could be saved. TKM has adopted the nickname the King's Men because as they serve you, they also serve the King. If they could provide any of their services for you, please contact them at 931-243-3958. That is 931-243-3958. Or you can contact them on the net at tkminc2001 at twlakes.net. That is tkminc2001 at twlakes.net. TKM Incorporated is a sponsor of Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. SJ&L General Contractor specializes in asphalt, demolition, concrete finishing, and heavy hauling. This family-owned business is licensed in Alabama and Tennessee. You can contact them for any of your construction needs. 931-433-4660. That is 931-433-4660 or 3Ws and a dot, sjnl.com, www.sjnl.com. SJ&L General Contractor is a sponsor of Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. I used to go for a run every Halloween at midnight, and part of my jogging course at midnight would take me through a small cemetery. I guess I just wanted to confront the fact that I wasn't afraid of those kinds of things. I'm not afraid of legends. I'm not afraid of heffalumps and woozles. I've seen two things in the dark that I could not explain. I was a boy in Oxford, Alabama, lived at 127 Williamson Street. And this is the woods that connect us to Hell Street. And a little boy that I was friends with, a kid named Shannon Wade, had come out of the woods one afternoon. And he said he'd been up in the woods and he'd seen something that terrified him. This was a tough little red-haired kid. We were good friends. We played a lot of football together in the backyard. I was a little older than him. And he came out of these woods telling me he'd seen something. At first, I thought he was just trying to get my attention because one of my friends from school was there and we were playing by ourselves. We weren't involving the neighborhood kids. And Shannon came out of the woods and he was crying. Tough little red-haired guy. And whatever he'd seen had frightened him to the point that it brought tears. So we went exploring. We spent the better part of a Saturday roaming around the woods that go underneath the bridge at Quintard Avenue. And I found an exceptionally large claw, or maybe a tusk off of a hog. I don't know. It was a large curved thing, and it was hollow. It was almost like a fake fingernail, but it was not fake. It was organic. And then about 8 feet up in a tree, against the bark of the tree, we found this remarkably large swath of tangled black hair. The guy that was helping me look for the creatures went home. It was just about dusky dark. It was that time of day when you can see, but you can only see outlines. And my dad came into the living room and said, "Hey, your creature may be out there. The dog's pitching a fit." And I walked out the back door and down the little steps and looked across our yard, and there was a fence and an empty lot. And behind the fence and the empty lot, there was something moving. It was scrambling around in a trash pile, and it was definitely humanoid in shape. It could have been a bear, could have been a homeless person. But as I ran toward the backyard trying to get my dog to growl at it or bark at it, she tucked her tail. We had a German Shepherd Collie mix named Lassie. She tucked her tail and went back to the porch and whined. This thing stood up, turned toward me, and silently walked up the hill and into the woods. And to this day, I don't know what it was. It was large. but it could have been a big homeless guy. It could have been a small bear. I just don't know what it was. On another occasion, we lived on Coleman Road, and we lived at the end of this gravel road, and this is where the house was surrounded by 2 pine thickets, a large dirt field that ended in a bank, and then woods and woods and woods and fields behind it. And we played this silly game. It was my brother and I and a guy named Tommy Meredith. And what you do, you go out into the dark and you drop a Frisbee. And the other 2 guys would look for the Frisbee using a flashlight, but you could only blink the flashlight. You couldn't turn it on and scan it, and you had like 10 blinks to find the thing. And if you could capture the Frisbee and get back without getting tagged, then you won a point or you won the game or something. And so we were out here in the dark between the 2 pine thickets in this big open dirt field, and it was a red dirt field. And out of the woods to my left, I saw an anthropomorphic figure, a humanoid. It crept out into the middle of the field, and it was in a crouch, and it stopped and almost took like a 3-point stance, but it was different than that. It was like it was squatting, and the tilt of the shoulders turned like it was looking at me. And then it loped on, and I lost it in the dark because it was not in the direct shaft of the moonlight. And then we blinked our lights, and we found the Frisbee, and Tommy tried to catch us, and we ran back to the house. And it was a cool evening, and the fog was coming off of our breaths, and we were breathless and laughing and cutting up. And I told Tommy, I said, well, I saw you when you came across the field. And Tommy said, I didn't go across the field. And someone or something was out there in the dark with us moving around. And it never made a sound. And we don't know what it was to this day. And it's not the overactive imagination of a boy. These are the things that I saw, at least to the best of my knowledge. That's what I saw. And I've never been able to explain them. Now, I don't believe in ghosts. The only ghost I ever saw, I tackled. I was on a hayride. I was a part of a church youth group, and I was still a student in school. And we had gone on a hayride out to Shinbone Valley on the backside of Cheehaw Mountain, up the end of the road at Nubbin Creek. And we were on Mr. Pee Wee Turner's farm. And some guy was out running around in the dark dressed like a ghost, and I tackled him. He had come by the window where the ladies were preparing the snacks, and they had screamed. I'd run into the kitchen and asked the ladies what had happened. They said, we saw something go by the window. I said, what did it look like? They said, it looked like a ghost. The second time they screamed, instead of running into the kitchen, I ran outside and ran around the house, and sure enough, there was my ghost. And he was running from me, and I was running toward him, and I got close enough that when he stopped to go over the fence, I drilled him with my best imitation of a John Matuzak field tackle, and we hit the ground with a thud. I thought I was supposed to pass through a ghost if I dove at one, but I didn't. I nearly ran through him, but I didn't pass through him, and I nailed him. He hit the ground, and the sound came out that was not really human. He goes, Lonzo, it's Willie. And it was one of the gentlemen from church named Willie Nyland, and I tackled him. The only other monster I've ever tackled, and I guess thrown would be a better word, is I was at the Estillfork. And I had a group of kids there at the Paint Rock Valley Lodge and Retreat. Now, this is way up in the Estillfork, and it's an old satellite relay station. They still have the big satellite dish there on the property, and a white owl lives in it. And I've spent the night with some guys in some hammocks underneath their shed and listened to those owls cut up all night. But we were in the den of the lodge, and Mr. Edley Prince had 2 sons. They were in high school, and they were good boys, but they were boys. And so I'm sitting inside the lodge talking to the kids from the youth group, and they come inside, and one of them said, hey, Mr. Lonnie, we've got a deer caught in the fence. Can you help us? Well, instantly I wanted to help, and I got up and I started out into the dark with these guys. And I should have known better. These are country boys. They're raised in Paint Rock Valley. They don't need my help. But I went out with them and crossed the yard in the back of this old hunting lodge and was getting deeper into the darkness. And we got right beside a wood pile. And just when we got beside the wood pile, that's when the werewolf came out of the wood pile. The loup-garou, the lycanthrope. The word werewolf means man wolf, and that's what this was. It wasn't a wolf, and it wasn't a man. It was a humanoid, and it was wearing overalls, these big brogan boots, had these massively furry hands with claws, and this big, huge wolf head, and it charged me. Well, I didn't run, I turned to face it. And when it got right inside my space, I grabbed its overalls and I turned and twisted my hips and I sent it howling, no pun intended, over my shoulder in the most perfect judo throw I've ever done in my life. It hit the ground with a thud and the famous words came out again. Hey, Lonzo, it's me. And the only two monsters I've ever really encountered where I could put my hands on, I tackled them and threw them. The other two things that I saw in the dark, I don't know what they were, and we'll probably never find out. I I just don't get upset by those kind of things. There's no such thing as a werewolf. People now, I dream about them all the time. I've had nightmares about them. I used to have this recurring dream where I was at the old backwoods Christian camp farmhouse, and everybody in the room was turning into werewolves, and I was shooting them with a 357 and having to combat reload. And when I ran outside, they're sitting all over the roof. I used to have that dream every time I've ever been on morphine. I've dreamed about werewolves. But even though my subconscious entertains the fact that there might be out there because I've seen all those movies and read all those books, there's just no such thing as a werewolf. People do not turn into wolves, and wolves do not turn into people and turn back into wolves and wait for somebody to shoot them with a silver bullet on a moonlit night. I don't believe in werewolves for a number of reasons, besides having never seen one that I couldn't tackle. I, I, I just believe you're either a man or a wolf. And there's no way a self-respecting wolf would want to be a man. And there's no way a man would tolerate and be happy as a wolf, especially not if you remembered what it was like to be a man. And it really boils down to you can't be a wolf part of the time and a man part of the time. You're a wolf all the time or a man all the time, and the two just don't mix. Are there such things as were friends? Individuals who are your friends part of the time and not part of the time? Yeah, I think those exist, and I think they're probably scarier than werewolves. Are there people who are disingenuous and are aware whatevers? Christians? Yeah. I believe there are people who pretend to be one thing and when they're really something else. Maybe we could call them were sheep. I don't believe in werewolves, but were sheep are a different story. You see, a were sheep is really a wolf, and he pretends to be a sheep. In all actuality, they're wolves all the time. They're just masquerading. Now, they succeed in fooling a great number of people. They actually succeed in damaging and ruining a great number of sheep. And there are a lot of sheep who are so afraid of these wolves in sheep's clothing that they use it as their excuse not to come into the fold. And so they stay away because they're scared of the wolf and when they've got a bigger predator to worry about if they're not inside the church. I believe in were sheep because it's not a matter of sheep becoming wolves and then wolves becoming sheep again. I believe in were sheep because there's no true transformation. You see, the transformation can only take place of a person who's genuine. And you see, a were sheep is a wolf from start to finish. There's no actual switching. The full moon does not transfer men into wolves. any more than the walls of a church building transfers wolves into sheep. You can come as a wolf, and through study and prayer and repentance and baptism, you can leave as a sheep. But you can't come as a wolf, play like you're a sheep, and then leave as a wolf. That doesn't work. It doesn't really fool. Well, it fools people, but it doesn't fool God. You see, the wolves who come and go are still wolves, and they're only pretending to be sheep. I think the word you're waiting for me to use is hypocrite. A hypocrite pretends to be something that they really aren't. Now, I want you to understand there's a difference between consistency and fakery. There's a difference between wanting to be something and yet not having the maturity or the time to achieve it, and yet trying to live that way in spite of the fact that you haven't yet arrived. But there's a difference in pretending to be something and acknowledging that you're becoming something. A hypocrite pretends to be something that they aren't, and they try to pass themselves off as genuine. Now, maybe it's harsh to use the word hypocrite, but let me just ask, if I say that I believe in something but don't live by what I believe, what am I? If I say that I love you but behave selfishly all the time, what am I? If I claim to love God but don't follow his instructions, what am I? If I say that I love God but won't speak to my brother, what am I? If I say that I love God and won't help my neighbor, what am I? If I say I love God and don't do right by my family, what am I? You see, a person can't be a wolf, and a wolf can't be a person. A sheep can't live like a wolf, and a wolf can't be a sheep. You can't be both. You're one or the other. Now, are sheep inconsistent? Are sheep imperfect? Do sheep make mistakes? Yeah, that's why we have a shepherd. Do wolves pretend and wear wool? Yeah, that's another reason we have a shepherd. And it's unfortunate that the wolves don't really get a lot of control down here. There's not a lot you can do about hypocrisy. There's not a lot you can do about people who are disingenuous. There's not a lot you can do about people who are duplicitous. You just got to be able to recognize them. The wolves run free down here. But remember, there is one place, guaranteed, that only sheep will enter. And there's another place, guaranteed, and it's a place reserved only for the wolves. Using the tool of shortwave radio, World Christian Broadcasting literally covers the world every day with the gospel. They use two large curtain antennas. One is located in Anchor Point, Alaska, and the other in Madagascar. They send out messages that are recorded at their international home in Franklin, Tennessee. They make available 40 hours of broadcast every day. The broadcasts are made in English, Chinese, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese, Korean, English for Africa, and Arabic. They would love for your group to visit them. You can bring your ladies group, your youth group, or your men's group. Just give them a call at 615-371-8707, 615-371-8707, or you can go to 3Ws and a dot, worldchristian.org, find the Donate Here button, and make a financial contribution to support this work that literally covers the world every day with the gospel. World Christian Broadcasting, in cooperation with Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure, is sponsored by us. What? We sponsor ourselves? Is that even legal? Check us out on Amazon. You can have access to the titles of Pedagogue, the youth ministry book by Lonnie Jones, Cognitive Spiritual Development, a Christ-centered approach to spiritual self-esteem, Grappling with Life, Controlling Your Inside Space, a small essay using the principles of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to talk about psychological and emotional self-defense, If I Were a Mouse, a children's book written and illustrated by Lonnie Jones, and then The Selfish Reel, a very short story about a decision. Also, you can check out our YouTube channel to see archived lessons and presentations from across the country, some videos with rope tricks and knots. Don't forget to visit the Facebook page 550 Guys to learn about the little rope men that we make and that we invented and that we make. And then be sure to click like, subscribe, and share. This is Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure.